Brews and Banner Podcast. What up? Welcome to Brews and Banner Podcast. I'm your host, Rob G. And with me, as always, is the Legendary Brew Crew. What up, fellas?
I got water, I got, juice or whatever. It's like, y'all need twin legs? Matter of fact, I do.
To everybody is,
does Delaware have an actual culture?
This is the podcast that we talk about beer, but we also talk about a lot of things that's happening in the world, politics, movies, anything really that comes to our mind while we're here sampling these brews. Grab a drink and pull up a chair.
T-Pain.
But I had a parking lot on Smash.
Things thus far.
What up? Welcome to Bruising Banter Podcast, where the topic is the rockin' in the brew. Glad to get you. I'm your host, Rob G, and with me, as always, Legendary Brew Crew. What's going on, fellas?
Yo, what's up, guys?
Yeah, we are down to man today, so shout out to Yo out there doing his Be More stomp or Be More swag.
He likes Be More. That's a nice little quick weekend getaway. I definitely, give him his respect on that. That's a good little getaway spot.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's quick and easy right there.
A lot of stuff right at your doorstep, wherever you stay.
Yeah, if you want to venture a little further, you can go in DC area or even outside DC. I'm at the Baltimore area as well. Got some stuff in like Bowie and
that's the beauty. That is the beauty of being in Delaware, that you can just hit these couple of neighboring states in 2-hour radius or shorter. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Welcome to episode 150 of our Bruising Banter Podcast. I'm glad everybody who's watching can listen, see us and say hello, people. Everybody who is listening, what's going on?
Yes,
like I said, this is episode 150. So we do have a special guest with us. So we're not going to take too much time. We're just going to get right into it. We want to bring the 2020 WIM Storyteller of the Year, the 2020 Ad Club Rockstar Award winner, the Oprah that you know.
I like it.
The CEO of Dflash and the host and creator of the Reset Podcast, Laura Mignott, to the podcast.
Hey. Nice.
Welcome.
Nice.
Hi,
That's a beautiful entrance.
Hi. How have you been?
Good. We're still in a panini with that, whatever.
Right. I like the nicknames people give this.
Yeah, you just call it a panini?
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. It's definitely a panini ad. Like panini, panorama, Paramore, whatever. But yeah, but all things considered, it's okay.
It's okay. Everybody's safe.
If COVID was a Paramore, it's a terrible one.
It's a evil Paramore. You should
absolutely.
Yeah. So I wanted to just quickly hop in and just make the connection for our viewers, listeners, and even for my fellow other co-hosts or podcast members. Laura and we go back to 2019, summer 2019. We both happened to be at friend's wedding in New York. I was friends with the groom. She was good friends with the bride. I sang at the wedding. I was the wedding singer for that engagement. And shortly after, cocktail hour, I guess we were probably in, Laura and I had a brief moment to exchange, family, kind of what we do outside of being there at the event, and learned that we both were fellow podcasters. And so that's how we, began to just really our exchange. And we have stayed in touch and remained, in connection, since 2019, that summer. And really what triggered me to reach out to her to reconnect was a post she had made on LinkedIn. And I'm just going to read a quick excerpt of it. that said, taking my own advice. It's 2022 and I want more speaking engagements. Please invite me on your podcast platforms, TED Talks, Bespoke, and literally did I answer. So, well,
You
welcome.
were the first.
Yes, we are the first. We are the first.
Challenge accepted.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I appreciate the challenge accepted. Thank you guys.
Yes,
Thank you, Devin. And I mean, it's also crazy that like that was 2019 because I just saw that Rosie is two
now. Right,
which
their
is
daughter.
crazy. And I met her exactly once.
Right.
Because pandemic makes things
Pandemic,
difficult
right.
makes people see.
Right, them pandemic babies. Was she pregnant during the wedding?
She was pregnant on the wedding, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
A lot of people
Pandemic
don't
baby.
know. So like, but yeah. But hi, hey Devin, thank you so much for taking me up on the offer, and fellow brewing banter gents. I'm delighted to be here, and have a chat with y'all about what I'm up to, what you're up to, and obviously have a cocktail at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, which makes me very happy. So it's like
happy.
All right,
for real.
All right. Well, speaking of that, before we get into it, we always like to know what everybody's drinking. So, button.
Wrong
That's
button.
Whoa.
I
haven't heard them buttons in a while either.
the sound effects, y'all.
It was too far over. My hand reached too far.
Okay.
So what are we drinking?
Okay.
Yeah, we always like to start with our guests. So Laura, what are you drinking today?
So I decided to go a little bit kind of funky. So I took some BAI coconut juice and some aviation gin because I am a gin drinker and connoisseur. And if you mix that together, you basically get this really neat, very light, refreshing cocktail. And you throw a little ice in it, can't go wrong.
Is there a name for it?
Try that because I've been looking for gin recipes because I got this bottle of gin. I'm like, I don't drink gin.
What drink with it?
Don't drink gin? Shame on you. No, I mean, literally, it's my own concoction. Like I was a couple weeks ago, I was looking for tonic water, and then I had this coconut juice in the fridge, and I was like, oh, what do I have if I pour some on top of this? I'm like, oh, this is quite tasty. So it doesn't taste like weird, and it's very, very smooth.
Good.
You can have it at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and not feel like you're a drunkard. So it's all good.
There you go.
Every time I say I got gin, people are like, oh, well, orange juice. I was like, hey, I don't want to do gin and juice.
Gin and juice.
Try something different.
No.
So I did have something else. It was I forget what it was called, but it was gin, prosecco, and lime, and cotton candy. Instead of using simple syrup, they said use cotton candy, and they gave it like a pink flavor. That was actually pretty good. We had it doing.
If you do anything with elderberry, or if you have any hibiscus juice, and you throw that and some gin. Oh yeah, it's become my go-to spirit in like the last 4 or 5 years, and so I've had every concoction. There's a gin bar like 5 minutes from my apartment downtown. So
nice.
That's a win. That's definitely a win.
So I have swiped some of their recipes.
There you go. Gotta
right.
recreate.
All right, Lou, what you drinking on?
Man, I have Left Hand Brewing Company, the White Russian Nitro. I'm not sure if y'all heard that in the background. It's a white stout with coffee and vanilla added. Super smooth and decadent. It is 8.9% alcohol by volume.
Heavy.
20 IBUs. Good to go from the can or like a pro in a glass. I am a pro. Here's my glass.
There it is. Look at that. Nice white stout.
Swanky.
Yeah.
What's the ABV? Oh, you said it.
8.9.
Woo!
8.9. This is crazy. This is crazy because first of all, it's very rare you see golden stouts.
Right. I think
it tastes like a stout. It look like a pilsner or a lager, but it tastes heavy coffee, vanilla. It tastes like I'm drinking alcoholic coffee. This is wonderful.
I can't think of anything better. My goodness.
Yeah, alcoholic, not Irish, but alcoholic.
Hey, there you go.
There's a difference. But yeah, you would never like just looking at this. You would never think this is a stout, but it smells like it's everything about it is a stout except the color. This is awesome. Congratulations again, Left Hand.
Yeah, we had who left was it Crooked Hammond.
Thank you.
Yeah, one too. Nice.
Yeah, they did, right? They did have a golden stout.
Yeah. All right, Dev, what you drinking on?
Devin is drinking on a local Delaware brewing company, Brickworks Brewing and Eats. This is their Heffoff, which is their Hefeweizen.
That was good.
Yeah, this is their German style wheat beer. coming in at
Ah.
5.2%. Can you see that? A little writing down there.
Yeah.
This here Heffoff is your boss, your local politician, maybe your ex-mother-in-law. There are probably a number of people you like to say Heffoff to relax. This American wheat has your back. So this here, very golden color here. It did have a bit of head on it. I poured it maybe about 5 minutes ago, so it's now depleted. But this is a delicious pour and refreshing drink for an early afternoon. So pass me another.
Hefes are really good. Shout out to Ron. Good job,
Yes. Yeah. Good job. Good job.
Ron. Hey, Rob G.
Yes, sir.
What are you drinking on for episode 150?
It's funny because I'm actually drinking. I guess it's part of that whole group. I'm drinking from Mississippian.
Mississippian.
It's
Nice.
the Vader Dark Imperial IPA. I don't know if you can see that.
Look at
Yeah.
you.
Vader. Yeah, it is 8.2. If you see that ABV, 8.2 ABV. Got Citra, Simcoe, and Mosaic hops. So it's a nice. Obviously, it's a black lager. So I mean, it's a black IPA. So there it is, right there. It is a black color. It is tasty if you like IPAs. It is good. So shout out to Mr. Pillion. I'm gonna say pass me another for that as well.
Hey.
All right.
Well, good.
It seems like
Yes.
everybody has something delicious to sip on while we enjoy this conversation that we're about to embark on.
I feel like gulping this thing.
You're going to chug?
I feel like I need to chug this thing. It's so good. I'm going to take it easy.
All right then.
I'm going to take it easy.
Take it easy as you have off.
Yes. Yes.
Have off with the slowness.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Well, since we are here, we're just going to jump into it right now. We like to know who Laura is, how she got there, where she doing, where she going, where she been. So without further ado, Laura, the floor is yours. Let me give you another round of applause.
So I'm CEO of Dflash. It's a cultural communications agency. We've been around about now into our 11th year, actually.
Congrats.
And we design experiences to make people feel welcome. So over that time, we've produced over 650 events. In the last 2 years, obviously, we've done about 75 live virtual events, which is how we were able to not only survive but thrive during the pandemic as a experience agency. And, for us, we just tell really dope stories. And, we've been really good at working with big Fortune 500 brands like Spotify, Netflix, and Amazon, but also up-and-coming brands, nonprofits, trade associations, startups, you know it. I've put rock walls in buildings. I've, wrapped buses. I've built custom experiences on the south of France, French Riviera. And I've done private dinner with some really cool folks and George Lucas. It doesn't really matter. But behind the same thing always kind of holds true. It's called welcome home. Every experience should be feel like welcome. You walk through the doors and your home, so you'll stay in the experience. And it doesn't feel like someone should, you're not supposed to be there. Whether you're an intern or whether you're a CEO, you'll always feel comfortable in the experiences that we create. And, it always has a kind of dope vibe. And that allows a lot of folks to feel good about the things that we create. And so I'm super proud of that. Even as we've, grown, we still hold on to that. And about 5 years ago, I started the podcast, basically out of I wanted to talk to interesting people, and I heard this podcasting thing was kind of interesting. And I looked around the marketplace, and I knew I wanted to focus on business. I mean, obviously, I know tons about pop culture and all sort of stuff, but I want to kind of focus on the story of business leaders. And when I looked around, I was looking at white dudes talking about how they were crushing it, and I'm like, shut up. Your daddy gave you a $5 million loan. Shut up. That's not how this works. And you needed to hear from people who are doing the real work in business. And so I was like, well, I know. Why don't I know tons of people in business. Why don't I give them a forum to just do that? And so the Reset podcast was born. And, I think we're at 50 something episodes at this point.
Okay.
And I know, hold true to the same thing. We've been able to win some nice awards. We were just in Essence last week as like one of the 22 podcasts you should know. We held on to that same thing. Like I talked to all kinds of folks from business and wherever that might be, whether they're just starting out, whether they're at big companies, whether they're at small companies. What was their first job? How did they get to be there? What do they do for their self-care? What they wish they knew now when they were younger. And I give her an ask. And the responses I get from these folks in all walks of life has been fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's been a great experience. And, I created this thing a couple of years ago called the 29 Days of Magic campaign, where I interview a Black woman a day for Black History Month, because apparently no one had thought to do this before, which again, I'm like, what?
Right.
Why not?
Right. Why not?
And not pick people that I knew, because I was like, I know tons of Black women. Like, let me go find some new ones, or recommend them to me. And so, first year we had 30. Last year we had 39. And I'm recording those episodes now, and I've got some amazing people who come through the same kind of like, come to me.
Yes.
I want you all to recommend who you think would be someone great who has a cool story. And it doesn't have to be someone who's like CEO of blah, blah, blah. I want to hear from, I think that we forget that the everyday person does something awesome every single day,
Mm-hmm.
and has a story to tell that someone can inspire, can give a bit of knowledge and a nugget to some folks. And so that's what the forum kind of creates. And so I'm super proud of what we've been able to create. And I'm excited for 2022 because I'm sure we're going to cause all kinds of trouble this year.
Yes. As what's our guy Jola says, good trouble?
All the time.
Good trouble.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. So I guess my question in terms of is around the I guess experience company. Like, was that straight out from like, did you just started that, or is that something that you grew into?
Yeah, I'd never planned an event before I created an events company.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Way back when it was basically got thrown together to do an event for a professional organization with some other folks, and it was like, well, I know how to plan some stuff because I'm a project manager, but I was a project manager for a big advertising agency deploying websites.
Mm.
So like I built some very famous websites and sat with developers till 1 o'clock in the morning at New Year's Eve, launching all kinds of websites. Like, yeah, hated that job. And really hated that job. Very good. Hated that job. And part of my like kind of trying to get out of that was to start networking and going to events, and did this event, and we sort of ripped out all the kind of stuff we didn't like. So like the check-in process, we made it easier. We made sure that the panelists were kind of interesting, as opposed to the kind of boring PR ones that you hear. Everyone's and you make sure that we had good like wine and cheese, like simple stuff. And that resonated with folks. And so the idea of doing these sort of networking events kind of was a side hustle was born. And the porn business partner and I just like started doing these events every single month. And again, kept it really simple, like make people feel welcome, make sure no one's sitting by themselves when they walk through the doors, say hi, great to see you, what brings you here. Make sure we had open bar and Swedish fish candies, like simple stuff. And from the very beginning, it resonated with folks. And prior second event, people were asking us to sponsor it. I'm like, we're not a company. I don't have a bank account. So if you write me a check, I don't know what you're gonna do. So I remember Googling how to get a tax ID. And so like that's how it started. It was still a side hustle for the first 2 years of just doing these events and getting interesting people to come talk who were like some big names in advertising and marketing. This is like in 2009, 2010 when folks were just blowing up. And a lot of brand folks started coming and saying, hey, can you do that for us? And I'm like, what? This? I'm like, it's not that, okay, you'll give me money? Sure, I'm in. And I'm like, I'm not stupid. So we just kind of started growing from there. And then in 2011, decided to like take the leap and be like, you know what? Let's try it. If it doesn't work, we'll meet a bunch of people and we'll just kind of go into whatever job takes us next. And lo and behold, it stuck. And brands started hiring for stuff, started hiring us for bigger stuff. And then we next thing I know, I'm building activations in South by Southwest, and I'm like gutting
Nice.
restaurants and turning them into yoga studios. I mean, just bananas. I'm like throwing giant parties of Erykah Badu and serving chicken and waffles on a rooftop in Austin, Texas. The wildest, craziest stuff. But still the same vibe where like this was a utility, this was a cool space. No one felt like you didn't feel welcome. I mean, look, we're all Black people here. So like for me to be doing that was a rarity. And they're like, well, this is multicultural. No, it's not. If you build dope stuff, guess what? Everybody comes, meaning everybody.
Right.
Not just who you think is everybody.
Right.
And if that's what you think multicultural is, you dumb. This is like this is about making everybody feel good.
Yes.
Because you gotta make like a cocktail. Duh.
Right.
And so it just kind of grew and grew and grew. And you know, obviously it had all kinds of crazy ups and downs of being an entrepreneur, and like economic downturns are scary. And you know, ultimately my business partner, you know, got married, had a couple kids, kind of wanted to do something else, and so I bought her out. And so I've been running the company solo for the last 5 years, and obviously we had COVID in 2020, which was terrifying. And you know, you thought I was going to get a real job. I was like, wait, this is not fun anymore. But you know, in that time in 2020, I actually kind of really found our purpose. Because you know, I've been traveling nonstop, flying everywhere for our events for 9 years, and so I was home for a year, and so I got to really sit and think about the work we wanted to do. And one of the things I wanted to do was sort of help out with COVID, because obviously, you know, it was terrifying, and I had relatives who were sick, who got it very early, and thankfully we're okay. But like, I'm like, this is dumb. I can move heaven and earth. Like, I've put all kinds of stuff in all around the world. I'm sure I can figure out how to get to masks from China here. Like, come on. And I did. And lo and behold, I ended up working with a nonprofit to help get millions of masks into the hands of lots of students at HBCUs across the country. And other items of PPE, and like, you know, and do the right thing. And you know, like I remember I was talking to the people from nonprofit one day, and they're like, "So how do we talk to these communities of color?" I'm like you talk to anybody.
Use
else.
words. Yeah, use the English language.
Your words. That's how you speak.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Yeah, really. That's all you need to do. Like, just be like, don't talk to other people." And also remember that it might be 2020 where you are in New York City, but it might be 1998. In some southern states. And so it doesn't mean that you should treat those people ridiculously. Yes, they can't DM you on Slack, but pick up the phone.
Right.
Like that's what you need to understand. And you know, that was probably some of the most rewarding work I've had an opportunity to do over the last few years, and that kind of led into just another work. And then we ended up, you know, getting a really cool project with Spotify that became a game changer for our company in 2021. And so we had our best year ever in 2021. You know, again, kind of aligning this interesting purpose of doing dope stuff. And so we helped bring, you know, 12 countries around the world, these up and coming podcasters, everything they need for podcasting. So their mics, their laptops, custom swag, you know, to like when they're at home doing all this stuff. And so it was super cool. And yeah, a lot of crazy late nights, lots of insane WhatsApp conversations that will never be shared out publicly. You'd be surprised the things you have to do to get stuff in India or in Mexico. It requires cash.
Oh yeah.
But the thing was, we were able to make those things come to life. And you know, as we are heading into 2022 now, we've got some really awesome things that are going to be coming up. Like the next week or so. That'll be super dope and kind of game changing, and how we view experiential. So it's been an insane ride. I think about where I'm sitting right now, and I recently moved, hence my half wallpaper. And I'm sitting in this really awesome new apartment of mine, and I just remember, and I'm evidently grateful for like what we've been able to accomplish and what we have yet to do, because I'm like, this is not difficult. This is not easy. No. The entrepreneur is not for the faint of heart, and I do not recommend it for everybody, because you need some insanely thick skin to make it happen. But when you can do it, and the rewards are are really truly special.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's bananas, and I'm also impressed with like the best team ever of folks who almost all are older than me. I take pride in the fact I'm the youngest employee in TF. Because I hire grown-ups. I am still a child. But yeah, like it comes in handy. Like you know what your strengths are, you know what your weaknesses are. And I can't do everything, nor do I want to. But yeah, so we've had a really incredible ride, and what's next is going to be even more incredible.
Nice. I guess I could have asked this earlier. Like, what? Because I always, every time I see it, I was like, "What does Dflash like? What does Dflash mean? Like, what does it stand for?"
You want the real story?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
That's why we're here.
So, in October 2009, my former business partner and I had the idea for doing this like little events thing on the side. We're sitting at a Starbucks in New York City, nearby Grand Central Station. I've got big glass windows, and we're sitting at the kind of like stools that face out to the street. And so we're like sitting like this, like chatting away, and like, oh my gosh, I guess we're gonna do this thing. I'm like, yeah, let's just do it and see what happens. It's a Friday at like 5 o'clock in October, so it's still bright out.
All right.
And all of a sudden, like former business partner looks at me, Laura, oh my God, look. I'm like, what? There's a dude flashing us.
Dflash.
Yes.
Would have never guessed that.
Exactly. So basically, our original name was Digital Flash NYC, and because we that was the flash, and it happened that was like a digital moment because we were talking about marketing. So but yeah, like so when we first started the company, we had this thing where like this is how our kind of like icebreaker in networking was like, if you want to know the story about how we got our name, you have to take us for a cocktail. So I'll tell you what actually happened. And so they're like, you were like, and one, not impressive. I'm just saying.
Right.
Come with some weight. Come a little heavier.
I'm a Black woman. Impress me.
I like how it's a double entendre too. It's digital and dick.
So as the years went by, we kind of kept shrinking our name down from Digital Flash NYC, Digital Flash, and then finally we just get rid of the word digital. No one gets it. So like Dflash just sounds like give people whatever
way
they
cooler.
want. It's way more. It creates conversation. But why? And I'm like, I'll have a drink and I'll tell you why. But yeah, literally, this dude like flashes trench coat. Like it was just like, are you serious, sir?
You can't flash without a trench coat, right?
Like really a movie type thing. He went the whole stereotype.
The whole stereotype in October. I don't know if you guys have ever been to New York, but like Grand Central is pretty busy,
right?
And so it was a busy.
He wanted both of y'all's attention.
Oh, he had purpose.
Bad.
He had purpose. Y'all two weren't
girls.
the only ones. Y'all weren't the only ones that day. Y'all definitely could not have been.
Ones, but we were the two cute ones, and so therefore that's where I think it came from. And I'm like, what did you hope to accomplish? I should be like.
Right. Like, how does that work? Or I'm coming home with you now. Like you did it.
Like, text me your number. Like, what is going to happen? Like,
what is the purpose of this, sir?
I think you just want to
call me.
I think the
exhibition. You should say that afterwards.
Call me, maybe never. No,
not at all. Not ever.
Epic fail.
Yeah, because like that's a mental issue. That's a mental break a little bit if you outside in the public with a trench coat on.
Yeah, it could be a fetish.
It was totally a fetish.
So if it's a fetish, there's a lady out there that said, I'm coming with you after I see that.
Yeah.
Or he might just get off. He might get off on flashing people.
Yeah. I think the shock and awe of it all.
Right.
Like, because we were just like, oh my God.
And that got him excited. Like, they're disgusted by me. That's the point.
Yeah.
So little did he know his inappropriateness would form a company name.
Would be crazy.
Like, could you find him and give him a company share?
What if he literally just had a mental break? What if his mental break? What if he had a mental break for like 2 weeks and y'all were in the middle of that and now he's like a businessman and coming to need your help? Has no idea.
I don't remember what his face looks like, but
y'all. Neither one of y'all will ever know. Y'all would never know. You probably work with them. You may have worked with them.
Entirely possible. I mean, again, the ways you can choose violence, that's what you chose to do. Like, I was confused, but yeah, that's literally how we got our day.
That is
Wow,
crazy.
Wow, I would have never guessed that, like you said, Lou.
No, that's the last guess. It was never a guess. That was not a guess.
Yeah,
So we had a
I'm glad I asked now.
I'm glad
though.
we sat down. Yeah, we sat down for
Almost no one has ever no one's ever guessed.
Yes.
Like, I mean,
No.
we've had hundreds of conversations with us, and like we're like, yes, what do you think it is? And they're like,
I actually think they probably guessed digital.
Right.
Right.
I'm
Probably
sure
would.
they guessed digital before.
because
but
that
never-
was our former
D.
name. Yeah. So like, yeah, that was. I mean, that was our name the first 6 years of the company.
Oh,
So,
okay. Got you.
but yeah, like people ask us like, why did you come up with digital flash? Like, it's a camera, it's like flash, like animation, and I'm like,
No,
no,
not at all.
you're giving us way too much credit for that.
Yeah.
We're special here.
Yes.
We like to-
Yes.
We make jokey jokes.
Yes.
Laura, this is a side question within that little thing that you just gave us. When you go from digital flash New York City and then you stream it to digital flash and then you go to Dflash, do you have to keep like reapplying for the name of your company? How does that actually work?
So well, I mean, you become like what's called a DBA.
Yeah.
So like, our legal name on any contract that we sign is still Digital Flash NYC.
Gotcha.
But like our website's dflash.co, all
Mhm.
our social is dflash, at dflash, or dflash NYC. And it's just, and for us, it just was like, it's like saying that long name was a long name to say.
Right.
And we're in an industry where, words are short, like Twitter.
Yeah.
So-
It's like the nickname. Like you call my name, the government name is Digital Flash NYC.
Yes.
But the nickname is okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, makes sense.
And then even now we just go by DF most of the time.
Even
'Cause, like,
smaller.
That's
Right.
because it was like, it's just shrink.
Mhm.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. Don't throw a T in the middle of that thing. DTF.
Hey, listen.
The smaller you get, more likely I would guess
Start
it.
thinking about nasty stuff. Yeah.
Whenever we say DF, we say don't threaten because D-Flash is here. And I was
Right.
like, we take care of everything. We make everybody feel
That's like
good.
a quadruple entendre.
I live on Earth.
Yeah, I've been
Mhm.
doing this. I've been doing this.
That's okay.
Yes.
I'll be all right. I'll be okay.
Mhm.
I love it.
So Laura, I know a lot of times when I've listened to the Reset podcast, you share it with your guests that you are originally from the UK. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Tell us, viewers, listeners, how that journey to America, so to speak, happened, and about your some of your family lineage.
Sure. So you can obviously all tell I was born in England by my voice.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Cheerio.
Yeah, it's quite brilliant indeed. I know.
Mhm,
And everyone wants some bangers and mash.
mhm.
Only when she's around family.
Yeah.
Only when she's around family it come out.
Right.
She
She
get
turned that
mad.
thing on and off. Right.
No,
That was awesome.
no,
That was crazy.
I'm way better at doing a Jamaican accent because that is actually easier for me.
Mhm.
But yeah, so
She bilingual.
Yes.
I all kind of patois. But yeah, so yeah, I have Jamaican parents, and we were in England. I was born in England and came here when I was 3. And the reason I don't have an accent anymore is because kids are cruel. So basically,
This is like the
You
Slick Rick
talk
story.
different, right?
Slick Rick story.
yeah,
He
I
came-
mean, really, I was like fresh off the boat in like kindergarten and like private school on Long Island, and like kids were like, you're already kind of shy, you're super nerdy because you know how to read faster than anybody else, and you have this accent. Yeah, we're just gonna make fun of you all day long.
Right.
So like that, the accent kind of went away, and so then it's been replaced by this voice, which completely confuses everyone over the phone.
Mm.
Always, or over email, because I had someone recently not know that I was Black, and over email, and like literally like jumped when she saw me on Zoom. She was like, "Wait, I had no idea. It was a black woman. And she was just like, oh, I'm so glad to see you. I just did not think.
Oh, that was great.
Oh, the
I
link
was
was hacked.
I was like, there's this thing called Google.
All right.
Right. Google me. Google me.
You'll see the photos.
Yeah.
I come up first. Trust me. It's a very unusual name. And I have a French sounding last name. No, I'm not Haitian. Which is also a common misconception about me. So I'm just like, no, we're Jamaican. I have a French last name because actual French relatives go to the island of Jamaica to go make a bunch of money off of sugarcane. And then, once you go black, you don't go back. And so they just stayed.
That's right. That's right.
And lo and behold, our family came to be. But yeah. So like, I had a different upbringing, and like I mentioned this on the podcast many a time, but like having a Caribbean English background, growing up in New York, is just a different experience. And being an immigrant family, like I never went trick or treating. I've never did a sleepover, like because my parents don't get it. And obviously I love to study a book. And so I was a super nerd. And like I have more degrees than I can shake a stick at. My parents kind of know what I do right now. All I know is I don't have money. So like they're just okay, sure.
Okay.
You must be successful because you don't buy
Right. She ain't asking for money. She actually giving us Christmas gifts.
Exactly. Like I get you guys nice stuff.
Right.
But like, yeah, I mean, I think the lived experience of like a Caribbean upbringing is just a different one than an African American one, just because you get to see the world in a different set of circumstances, and as a result of that, it's a different view. Not one better or the other; it's just a different one. And as a result of that, it affords me an opportunity to be in some interesting spaces, and like I always use it as an opportunity to sort of lift as I climb and like, yo, come through. Like if I can get here, you can get here too. And not view it as like one is better than another. But no, like, dude, I just have to be in the space that people want to be. So like I will bring you to.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
Yeah. And just as you said that last part, that reminds me of just our short conversation. Once you learned we were fellow podcasters and went at the wedding, you were like, oh, good, you do a podcast. You were like, who's your sponsors? And I was like, oh, yeah, about that. It was literally like in those moments, as you said, like as you climb, you wanted to lift in that moment and like, listen, let us build, let's talk more about that and what that looks like. And I came home from that wedding weekend feeling like, like we got real work to do, fellas. Like, let's dig in, let's do more. So what would you say was your the goal you set out to really build and uplift your podcast when you did start it? Like who were the pillars that helped you do that and make that grow?
Well, it was an interesting time. Like my business partner and I had to split, and we didn't do the live events anymore. But it was also like it's just good timing with good people. And I had done an event with a kind of now well-known podcast producer, and had like made sure that he met someone who was at the event. And he was like, we went to dinner like shortly before I had been thinking about the podcast. And so it's like I'll just run it by him like, hey, I have this idea for a podcast. I'm not sure if this will work. And he's like, that's a great idea. I'll produce that for you. And I'm like, what? And so that worked out well. And then one of my clients is also a friend of mine. I told her about the idea for the podcast, and she's like, "Oh, we'll sponsor that." I'm like, "Great." And I went to like some good friendlies of mine and said, like, I have this idea for this podcast. I'm not sure what the hell I'm doing, but like, do you want to come and like, have some like wine and French fries at my house, and we'll try and record some episodes? Like, yeah, we're down. And I think it comes from like always sort of being open to folks and not trying to be like you're better than anybody else. Like I've tried very hard to like when I'm in different spaces, like offer some advice, because I get to see a lot of stuff. Like, even though like I think the misconception is, oh, you have an events company, so like you do weddings and stuff. Like, no, I do multi-million-dollar corporate events for brands that you use every single day. And like what we do is not just like a run-up show. It's like I'm building an experience. And as a result of that, I have to talk to like some very important people. and they take my advice and counsel on lots of things, not just where to put that shelf. And so that gives me an insight into other people, and I get to build relationships with folks. Like, you know, the biggest thing I also teach a class I'm teaching people how to network, because I'm like, if you don't connect with people, you ain't gonna get nowhere. Like you can be the smartest person in the room, but if no one knows who you are, that isn't gonna get you where you need to go. The connections are what gets you to the next places. That's how we built our business. It's like we've been on word of mouth business for the majority of our time. Like, and it would win like tons of RFPs. It was like someone recommending us to somebody else who went to our event and like, this is dope, you should talk to Laura, blah blah blah. And like that's how it kind of came to be. And you know, some of them might have heard me speak somewhere, they might have heard the podcast. Like that's kind of how it all kind of comes to be. And like giving people the opportunity, like, yo, like, let me see what I can do to help is the right way to do things. I think a lot of folks half-ass that. Or they don't back it up. Like, or it's like, well, you know, I want to. You have to like pay me to pick my brain. I'm like, oh, shut it. Like, no, it's like there's nothing like you can do a simple 15, 20 minute. Hey, like, what's up? What are you up to? What am I up to? Cool, we're down for that. Like, you don't have to. You can figure out what your boundaries are, but still enable connections. And I think sometimes that gets in the way of people's success. And so, you know, this thing the big thing we have coming up soon is 1000% based on connections, but also delivering. It's like you can have good connections, but if you don't deliver, then it doesn't work either. And so, you know, we got this opportunity through a connection, we delivered, and so it's up to something really huge. But like they go hand in hand. Like when someone gives you a shot, you one, take it, two, do it well. And you know, that's what I always impart on folks. I'm like, if I make an introduction for you, do not screw this up.
Don't look it up. Right. It's not just you. It's me. It's attached to me. It's a dotted line to me.
Exactly. Is that why they call you to open that they know? Is that why they call you to open that you know?
Yes, you know, a friend of mine who I had in the podcast said that, and I was like, it's this whole group of like 100 women, and I'm like, I guess it's me now. And I guess because she was like, no, you're just so accessible. Like you just know like who to talk to, and like it's not, and it doesn't come from this like place of like, you know, well, let me
like a name drop, and
no, I mean, look, there's plenty of people I can name drop, plenty of celebrities who we've gotten a chance to work with and done some cool stuff, but like,
what's
they're
that
just
game?
People.
Exactly.
They're just people. I mean, and like, you know, and some of the most connected people I know you've never heard of, and that's because that's the way they want it. You know, and you do stuff for folks because, again, the right thing to do. And it gives you, and affords you opportunities in the future. Because you like, look, someone asked me for something insane a few weeks ago, and I was like, "You're connected to who?" And I was like, "Okay, it's a very famous basketball player that everybody knows." And I was like, "Why?" And told me why. And I was like, "Okay, all right."
Did it cut it? Did there reason why cut it?
No, yeah, it was a very good reason why. And so, like, I texted two friends of mine who I thought would know, and of course, they both were like, "Yeah, like, can we just talk to them for about 2 seconds to make sure it's not ridiculous?" I'm like, "Yeah." So they connected, and then I connected both my friends, and they were both like, "Oh, we can do so many other things with you as well."
Nice, beautiful.
And then they connected them to the basketball player, and that was like in 15 minutes, and it was one of those things where it's like, you know, great, now he owes me a favor, so maybe, and whenever I have something insane and I have a super crazy request, I'll be like, hey, remember that time?
Let me cash in my coupon. Let me cash in my coupon.
Like the godfather. She's the godmother.
Yes.
It's a time to cash my chip.
I will cash in that chip at the appropriate time.
Yes.
You know, there's like, you know, we've done lots of events for folks who are, you know, very well known, and behind the scenes something insane happened, and I get a text from somebody like, do you know how to fix this? Yeah, here, this is what you need to do. And then like, and some people are like, well, that's gonna be $5,000. I'm like, no, I'm gonna invest in a relationship here, because it's like, it didn't have to be about the money every single time. That's not to say don't go for the money, but
Right.
just like measure what you're trying to do, and not everything is about cutting a check today.
Right.
Because it leads to a much larger one tomorrow if you play your cards right and don't get so hung up on other stuff. Again, it means to honor your value and not do stupid shit for free. But also understanding that the game is very long, the world is super tiny, and you never know who's paying attention. So like try and do the right thing as best you can.
Yeah.
Try.
Right.
So go ahead, Rob.
Oh well, my question was, out of all the events that you have curated, what is the one? Do you have one that you're most proud of? Like, you know what, we did that right there,
smashed it, rocked it.
Oh, there's so many. They're all like my kids. But
everybody have a favorite kid. No, I'm just joking.
Oh man, don't say that.
I've heard that from my friends who have children. But
I do not have a favorite kid.
I was just record. I have two wonderful children. I
love them equally.
Me too.
Differently, but equally. There it is.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
Okay, how about this? I will say, I will go by this one. I'll go by this standard. The most baller event that we ever did was in the south of France over 5 days. And we opened with Gayle King. We had Naomi Campbell, John Legend, and Gabrielle Union over the course of those 5 days. And we built this dope space that had air-conditioned cabanas and a stage. We flew in chefs from all across the U.S. to the south of France, and they made 5 cheese mac and cheese and did shrimp and grits in the French Riviera. It was the dopest anyone's ever seen. It was the first time it had ever been done. And we changed the way that you could experience this conference called the Cannes Lions. It was grounded in diversity and inclusion, but it wasn't called that. And it had such a vibe. And one of my favorite comments, and I still have the video on my phone, this woman from Estonia comes up to me and she's like, I just want to tell you, this is amazing. And I was like, I've never felt more welcome than 15 minutes ago. And I'm like, well, what happened 15 minutes ago? She's like, I walked in here. And I was like, wow. And she's like, I'm from Estonia. I don't see people of color. And I thought if I came in here that I wouldn't feel welcome, that I would be the reverse for me, that I would be the only. And not only do I feel welcome, but I don't want to leave. And for me, that tells me I'm doing this right stuff, where it's everyone should feel like you've got this dope vibe, and because when you feel comfortable, what ends up happening? You connect with folks. You learn from people. Right, you build. You chill. And when you create spaces like that, and you get that kind of feedback, that's the most rewarding stuff, because you never know how it's going to be. It's right up to that moment. You're just go, and I hope it works out. But for that, that was probably the dopest one we've ever done, because it encompassed so much in an amount of time, and it was the first of its kind. I think the other one is probably this past year with Spotify, because that was rewarding in a whole other way, because we're in the middle of the pandemic. A lot of these folks, we're young, 18, 21. It's the first time they're getting to share their voice with the world. And you got to see some women, one of the things we provided was internet access, mobile internet access to some of these folks. And one girl in one of the countries that we were sending the boxes to said to our kind of local team leader, oh, how do I send the internet back once the program is over? And he's like, no, it's yours to keep. And she's like, mine to keep? And she's like, yeah. She's like, I've never had internet before. And you think about what that means, and how this, sleepless nights, all kinds of crazy phone calls, just literally driving yourself crazy. And you think about I have internet on this, I have internet on this computer, I've got my iPad, what? I have this watch, what are you talking about? You have internet, and you realize what it means for what you're actually doing for other people, and it makes that so much more rewarding, because you're in the midst, and you think about to be in the middle of a pandemic and you don't have internet, just how
Like
how you even live?
How's it even possible?
How's
Right.
it even
I was
possible?
thinking,
But it is.
yeah.
And so to be able to facilitate that, that's the kind of work where it's like, you know what, we do some of the dopest shit ever, and we do it, and nobody does it like us, and it makes
That's
me
awesome.
immensely proud of our team and the crazy that we're able to pull together. So those two.
Nice. Aren't I glad I bumped into you at that wedding in 2019?
See,
I knew you were amazing.
I just try. I have friends wherever I go, and
that's my middle name. Friends wherever I go. It sometimes pisses my wife off, but I'll be like, I know somewhere everywhere I go, or I'm gonna meet someone. I'm going to meet someone.
She got George Lucas in the phone, though. She got George Lucas in the phone.
Yeah, that was a drop that tried to be humble, but definitely was not humble. Like, you can't say I met with George Lucas and be humble about that. You should.
Oh, you mean like
especially after Rob said, "I got the Darth Vader beer." You dropped George Lucas' name like he's like me and Devin know each other. Like,
right.
I just know George Lucas. We meet every once in a while for drinks.
Yeah, I mean, we went to the basketball game last Friday.
Right. I seen him at the Clippers. I seen him at the Clippers. Like, why are you at the Clippers game? Why aren't you at the Lakers game? You should be at the Lakers game. Stuff like that.
Yeah, Lakers game. You really should be. I mean, again, you casually mentioned. I mean, the biggest flex I have, I think, is the Naomi Campbell thing.
That made my eyes perk up a little bit,
because like that was probably like one of the most like, are you kidding me? No, like wonderfully lovely woman, and just she really enjoyed her experience. And this was at the event in the south of France, and like it was funny because she also is Jamaican English, and so I had met her the night before on a beach in a party with Swiss Beats listening to Nas. Yeah, I know. Sometimes my
nice. Hit it. Bang, bang, bang.
It was 6 of us, and Nas was performing for just the 6 of us on the beach. Like, Swiss was the DJ.
Oh, you are in the south of France, so I mean,
we're in the south of France, right?
Again. Sometimes I was like, "Where am I?" And I remember I remember seeing her, and my friend was like, "You should go tell her that she's speaking at the event tomorrow." I'm like, "I am not doing that." And my friend's like, "No, go." I don't know. I'm like, and then he goes over, and he goes, "Oh yeah, Laura's producing the event, and you're going tomorrow." And he's like, "Oh, come over." And I'm like, "Are you?" What?
Welcome. Come on.
Hi.
And then you guys bond over the UK Jamaican lineage.
Yeah. And so
now y'all friends too. You probably friends with her too. Yep.
She's in the phone.
Hey. Hi, Naomi.
But again, like just people and just talking to folks that they're people. And when I told her about the event, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing!" And like she came the next day, and she was wonderfully lovely. Wow. She also saved my finger because someone slammed the door, and we had like a little green room, and so like we're escorting her into the green room, and like it's a sliding door, and the person behind me doesn't see that my hand is like still on the side of the edge of the door, and slams the door and like hits my pinky. And you know when you have that moment where you're like, I should probably be screaming bloody murder right now, but Naomi Campbell's a foot away from me, and I'll be screaming in her ear, so I can't do that. So it's like, and she goes, "Oh my God, are you all right?" And I'm like, and she's like, "Get ice," and she like dumps open an ice bucket and like wraps my hand with ice, and I'm like, wow. Is Naomi Campbell like she just
taking care of
my hand? Like what had happened was
Naomi Campbell just saved my pinky finger. That is a great story. You got a lot of cocktail stories.
I have a lot of cocktail stories, but yeah, like those are kind of things that like where you just
that's cool.
That just happened. It was okay.
Yeah.
My finger doesn't hurt anymore. It's all good.
So because you are so accessible, like how many assistants do you have?
Yeah, what is your team?
What is your team?
I don't have assistants.
You don't have assistants?
No, I mean like I have. Also, we're a family of 6 full-time employees, and then we have like an army of freelancers, or 10 or 12, depending on the projects that we're working on. Yeah. You know, I mean, I kind of did my own schedule. Didn't I not say like, hey, like you can schedule with me?
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
I was like, all right,
It was
I'll
that.
pick a
It was
day.
that. It was that easy. Yeah.
Sundays at 1, sure.
Laura's in my phone, y'all.
Hey, you
I mean,
1
like,
degree, you
I
1
bet-
degree away from Naomi, bro. That means I'm 2 degrees away. We are on our way, bro. We on our way.
And like, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, I will say that I do need an assistant because I do get
I understand.
I do get a little bit, and I did, and because like you know, COVID time, like whatever, you don't need all that. But like we've definitely gotten significantly busier in the last several months.
Mhm.
We're about to be even busier, and my second in command is like, if you don't get an assistant, I'm going to slap you. And I'm like, I know I will.
Mm.
So like in the next
Okay.
month, I will be hiring an assistant.
Working on that.
Because it's like
Good, good.
I take it all so seriously. Like you know, I don't like I respond to people when they email me. It's like I don't,
Mhm.
but like I miss stuff because.
Right.
I get it. You're busy.
I'm trying to delegate more of
Does
like
the assistant
my
that you're
life
looking
and
for have
schedule.
to be local to you?
No,
All right, you hear
Shit,
that?
it's a
Everybody's
guys?
virtual.
It's a virtual
Everything's
world.
virtual.
Yep.
It's a
I'm just
virtual world. I mean,
I'm just asking so we can put this
out.
out in the ether and get some people to call you and send their resumes.
Disqualified.
Right.
Yes,
Absolutely.
qualified, please. Like,
Qualified.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's obvious. That's obvious.
They just can't say on the resume, want to meet Naomi Campbell.
It's not gonna happen. That literally is not gonna happen.
My
Like,
name is
that-
Lewis, and I
that's
just
it.
want to meet Naomi. Can I?
Yeah.
Lewis asks, well,
No.
you trying to be her assistant, Lewis?
No. But I mean, we could talk.
I mean, listen. I will say that
I'm always looking for
Gabrielle
another
Union
job.
did stay for like 8 hours at our activation with our whole family, and like hugged me because I like actually had like sweet potatoes for her child.
Oh, right though. Warmed her soul.
I mean, they were the loveliest. She and Dwayne were the loveliest people ever, and
That's
just
nice.
had such just
Wonderful
the
time.
kids and like you know just wonderful. And you know, again, that's the thing. If you make people feel welcome, they'll chill. They will hang.
Yeah.
And this is not about like having to be someone that you're not. And I think
Right.
people are just people. It's same thing with John Legend and like everybody. Like people they're just folks. And if you treat people with like the same way, but like it goes both ways. And I'm always amazed that people like don't treat people who are up and coming the same deal. It's like you never know where someone's going to be in 6 months, a year,
Exactly.
and so you should.
And they're going to remember that slight. They're going to remember
like I mean, there's a very well-known person in our industry, and complete slight. And I was like, do you not know how small this world is? It's like, and I was like, yo, like, you can't be like that to people. Like, that's just rude.
Right.
You know, I think, you know, as successful as I continue to grow and be, it is my hope that I never get to the point where I forget that.
Right.
Because like I've seen it happen a few times where some folks are like, you know, they used to be really mad cool, and then like as they move up in the world, you know, they just forget what it was to be a regular human being. And like, you know, and it's my hope that like that never changes for me. Or or even if it begins to brew, someone smacks me quickly upside my weave and was like, don't do that. Because like you cannot. You really got to be chill with folks.
To your point, I think of two instances where, you know, I could have been like starstruck, and I was in Philly. Charlie Mack, who's a very good friend of Will Smith, he used to throw parties there, and my friend Nick, who would throw these events with them, they had this event that he could invite a +1 to, and we were at this downtown Center City spot called the Armory, and I knew that like it was Charlie Mack's event that he was doing for Will Smith. That I know that Will Smith was going to be walking the room, and there was this plush like place, and there were all like these like almost like a Miami style like beds were inside of this club and everything. And like Will Smith is walking around, and he gets to me, and he's like, you know, thank you for coming. And he reaches his hand out, and he like shakes, and I'm like, oh, I'm glad to be here. Like, but in that moment, like, you know, like you just have to be like normal. He's a person. Like he just thanked me for being at his, you know, at his event, and he's just he's a regular dude at the, you know, at the end of the day. Although I definitely was like, looking at my hand for a minute later after he walked away, like, like, oh my God. So I definitely get it. But you just gotta be in the right headspace when you're in that kind of company. Yeah.
Now, I think you briefly mentioned it, but you do also have an online course called 1 Degree of Connection. Is that correct? Like, how can people do that? What is that all about? How people can find out all that good stuff?
Yeah, so if you go to my website, lauramignott.com, you can click to sign up for the course. It's like $40 or something. And basically, I teach you how to network, because I think sometimes, especially for us Black folks, it's the perception of what that is gets this like ickiness, or like, oh, you're acting white, or you're trying to be fake. And I'm like, shut it. Do you want to be successful or not? It's like, you want to know how you get to be in a room with Naomi Campbell and she's the one shaking your hand and thanking you for your event? It's like you put yourself out there in a way that exudes confidence and calls people in, as opposed to making people go away towards you. Laura, you have the best energy. I'm like, yeah, because I'm not a bitch.
Right.
I can be when necessary.
Right. Everybody got that switch.
Yeah, real quick. Also, I'm Jamaican, so
watch it.
Just wait. But like, so we teach you how to like kind of break down the kind of misconceptions around what networking is, by also calling it connections. If you're 1 degree, they've all heard of the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, but really you're 1 degree away. Because like jokingly, like, you guys now are all 1 degree away from Naomi Campbell, because I know her, you know me.
Exactly.
Right.
There you go.
Yep.
But like, making people understand that you have something to connect folks to in a way that doesn't feel like, oh my gosh, I don't know anybody. So like, I know nothing about you guys, and this is a perfect example. I know nothing about Devin, but I knew that he'd been to a wedding, which means I know you know at least 5 people. You know the bride and the groom. You ate the food, so you probably know who the caterer is, because you probably asked about the food. Right. You know a wedding venue because you went there. You know a photographer because you got your picture taken. It's 5 people. I know nothing about you, but I know that you know 5 people. And when you break it down in those simple ways, like, yes, I do know people. I can go to those connections and ask if they know someone who might know somebody else, and begin to build out and figure out where those connections can take me. And sort of breaking down those misconceptions. And one of the things we do is this thing called 5 for 5. We pick 5 people you haven't talked to in like 5 weeks, 5 minutes, 5 months, 5 years, and just reach out. The pandemic is actually kind of the perfect way to do this. You can do it on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, whatever. And just be like, hey, what's up? Like, you came to my thoughts the other day, we'd love to catch up. Got 15 minutes? Out of the 5 people, if you get 3, or you get 2, or if you get 1, you can just like shoot the shit for like 15 minutes. Like, oh, what have you been up to? How's this pandemic been? Blah, blah, blah. And you're now on that person's mind, your person's radar. You're now on your radar. And if kind of the energy that you put out is the energy you get back. So when you give that out in terms of like, oh, I just checked out Grand Crew and Abbott Elementary on ABC. That's dope. You should check it out too. Like, it begins to build. You sort of begin to build those connections for simple stuff that build those relationships. And then later on, I'm like, oh, I saw that Devin. Like, I've been trying to talk to somebody who's doing interesting things in beer. He might be able to connect you to somebody. There you go.
Right. There it is.
That's literally what this is.
Yep.
But also giving people the confidence to understand that like it isn't brain surgery. Like and like it's about working smart. Lavia J. Jones, who I adore, who has a great book called Professional Troublemaker, and the Fear Fighter Manual, which I highly recommend. Because it kind of does a lot of this as well, in terms of breaking down what you have to do in order to be successful. It is those smart connections.
Yes.
Because you can be working hard all day long, but if you've never gone out and met anybody, it's kind of like a tree falling down the forest. No one will hear it. So you have to put yourselves in those rooms and those conversations where folks can at least know that you exist and know that you did that. And I always use myself as a perfect example. Remember I said way back in the beginning, I was a project manager of websites that nobody knew who they were. And now I have thousands of people. It takes work. It takes effort. But when you do it and you stay true to who you are, it puts you in some amazing rooms. If you had told Laura in 2006 was sitting there deploying M&Ms.com that like in 2022, I'd be sitting here talking to you guys, like there's no way. Or where I'd be sitting in my apartment in Manhattan. Like just would not have been a thing. But like I took the chance to like put myself out there and be in different rooms. And this is especially true for folks that look like us. You're gonna need to go into rooms that don't look like us.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna like over and over and over and over and over again. If you are in a room where you are exactly the same as everybody else in that room, get out of the room.
Get out of the room.
You gotta go to other rooms. You have to go to other rooms. Like, and well, it's not the same for white people. Yeah, because the role stuff's easy. Sorry.
Right.
But like, you have to make the efforts. Like you just look. You have to have multitudes of crews. And multitudes of friend groups, and you kind of have concentric circles of what those look like. Super tight, like folks you rather die for, your cool ones your ones your industry friends. Like you have these sort of concentric circles of groups that you have. But your network should never just be vertical. They should be horizontal. They should come across everything.
Yes.
I know a guy who's a lawyer. I know a girl who's a great real estate person. I know a guy who's a great photographer. I know a woman who's a great makeup artist. I know a great guy who's a candle maker. Like whatever, you should be able to build those networks across every industry and not think that you can only have one core group of people and that's going to be a ride or die. That's just not how it works.
Yeah, that whole
Especially
thing, people be
us.
like, no new friends and all that. Don't subscribe to that. I mean, Drake made the song
You
sound good,
can have
but-
no new friends, but you got to have a lot of new associates.
Unless you're Drake.
Unless you're Drake. Unless you're Drake and you have all
But
kinds
you
of
got
problems.
it's all about the network. Like you said, you got that close group of your ride or die. Like they don't need to be new necessarily, but everybody on the outer circles they have to constantly be in flux and learning who can help you better and things of that nature. So Laura, you're absolutely right. I used to say Black people in America need white people to be successful. You got to be in those rooms. White people, if they don't want to F with Black people, like they don't need them to be successful, but you have to talk to some white person or somebody, like you said, Laura, that looks different than these Black people to be as successful as you want to be. So get out of your head and get out of your box and do better. You're right.
Also,
Awesome.
stop acting like you can't find. Like, not again. You're gonna run into groups that are like don't want to screw with you. Fine, but like you will if you put out things that you want to do. Like if you want to be involved, like the perfect example now is like Web3, Metaverse, and all NFTs.
Yep.
And yeah, like it is like quite saturated right now. But there are pockets of good stuff, like I've gotten to know some really, really great white dudes who are in the space and like they're welcome me in. And then what am I doing? Open the door, come through, other folks. Come on in, the water's fine. And if you build the character of being like a utility, where like you're kind of the plug, like the joke about me being okay, open it, is because I'm kind of like a plug. Like I can put you to this person, get them like get out of the way. But like everyone can be their own plug, whereby like you know the best restaurant recommendations. Like younger folks like, oh, I don't know anybody out, but I was born and raised in the city. I'm like, so basically you probably know all the places for like babysitting. All the places where you can like it's a good place for your kids to go for a class. So when you talk, so if you're someone junior and you talk to someone senior, like there is something you can bond over. And, if it's like if you love cars, like I love cars, like there's very few Black people who love cars apparently. But like I can go in pretty much any room where it's mostly men and talk about cars and like break the ice. Like I like to drink gin. Like there's simple things that you can do, and so that's what happened to the course. But like helping you just sort of see that like one, you have tons and tons of value, and I think oftentimes because we're told that we're not enough, and that it's not, and like we're always going to forever be behind the 8 ball. People believe it, and it's like my thing is you are enough. You can do this. You can have this sort of abundance mindset. Does not mean that every single thing is going to go right and perfect every single time. But if you walk in this space of like, okay, I can make this happen. I can put one foot in front of the other, and I will find a way to make this happen. Like if you are here today, like it's a gift. It's a blessing. Like I was saying to someone the other day, like we didn't survive a pandemic to play small.
Right.
So like take a shot, shoot your shot. Like take the job, take the new project, take the vacation. Like, take the trip, take that crazy ass adventure, like, because and then tell people about it. Like, let folks know that you did this. Like, I mean, it's one of those things where, like, when folks know that you are out there, and again, you can measure how you do this. Like, you are not going to see me posting pictures of my food on Instagram. However, if I go somewhere insane and like, this is the dopest dessert I've ever seen, you're going to see a picture of it. Because like, this is something cool and interesting that makes good sense. It's not every single day you're seeing my Like, I went on vacation, I didn't put it on Instagram. But like, I don't need to. I put once. I put one photo up on a beach, and like I said, you should all take some time off. That's all I said.
Right.
And you can do stuff like that. You can measure who you want to be on social media, but it doesn't mean you have to be 100% quiet about it. You can figure out what the balance that looks like for you, and put that out there in a way that you feel comfortable. Because if you're doing it in a way that you don't feel comfortable, you feel forced, people know that you're just like team try too hard. But you can find that balance. Like, I've tried to find that balance. Like, you'll never see me posting about my personal life ever on social media, because like, once you break up with one dude, like, you never want to have that on. Erasing photographs is
erasing, right?
So like, never again. Like, you'll see it whenever I meet the dude and like we get married. Like, you'll see a photo. Till then, never. But like, if we go somewhere interesting, we'll take a picture of that. If we win an award, I want to post about that. If I do something really unusual and crazy, like, I'm gonna do that. Like, I did a Spartan race right before the pandemic hit, which blew my mind. Which, what I think about now, and how I did not get COVID, means I am blessed and highly favored, because it was
blood of Jesus.
Like, it was
how many people?
5,000 people.
Woo!
5,000 people. Like, and we're all corralled together. We're climbing up mountains. We're all in the dirt. We're crawling over stuff. I do not know how I did that. This is February 2020. It was like the week before I turned 40. And like, and I remember posting about it. People were like, "You did what?" And I was like, one, they're a client. Two, I didn't realize I had signed up for that. I thought I was going to observe, and then I got stuck and roped into it. And then I am a quitter, so I was like, I'm just gonna do this and like hope I don't die. But it was also one of those things where it kind of showed that, like, again, at a different level of accessibility, where it's like, okay, like, what Laura does, blah blah blah, but like, yeah, she does Spartan race. All right, it's like she's down for whatever. Like, you can show different parts of who you are by the way that you curate who you are on those panels and on those conversations. And I think that's how you can put yourself in different rooms where you can connect with folks. And like I said, I met this awesome family who helped me with the race. So I had no idea what I was doing. I was terrified. Turned out this really amazing Hispanic family had been doing it as like a fun thing to do. And like, and so like they adopted me, and like did the whole race together, and it was amazing. And
so it was like a tradition for them.
It was totally, and it was the craziest thing ever. But like, that's the thing, like, you got to chatting with these folks, and like had this nice conversation. And again, because I didn't like, I don't know what I don't know, so like, okay. And so you ask me for help, and it's a key part of all this stuff. Like, you don't have to be everything to everybody. You're not going to know every single thing, but you can be chill with folks. You can learn from the other folks, and you can sort of when you're in those moments, go for it. What have you got to lose? Again, pandemic, like 900,000 people have passed away. There are thousands of people who have long haul symptoms. If you were blessed or that you did not get it, take this as an opportunity to like take a big step, take a bold step, because like, go for it. There's no point. There's reason not to.
Agreed.
All right, that sounds like a
very, very well said.
I'm signing up for this course. I'm going to encourage my 3 fellow podcast members to, we can learn something. We can learn something together.
You can take the course and tell us. No, I'm just joking.
Oh, don't be frugal. Don't be frugal.
Oh, yeah.
I see how you is. I see how you is.
Right. Spend that 40. We spend that on beer in a day. More than that.
I should have asked because I was curious because she had the bottle of gin. Did you get that from Ryan Reynolds? Did you get it actually from Ryan?
No, I did not get it from Ryan
I was
Reynolds.
just joking.
No, I did not get this gin from Ryan Reynolds. Like, come on. The liquor store is.
let me ask you this. Like,
I was just kidding. I went to the liquor store.
Although, wait, no.
So to be named as one of Essence Magazine's 36 podcasts, what does that look like? How do you know that you're in the running for that? Does someone contact you? Like what? No idea.
I literally had no idea. I had no idea.
Damn.
A friend of mine was in the list, and I was like, "Oh, let me read the article.
Let me read it.
Who else is in there?" And I'm scrolling through, and
Oh, you had no idea from.
Oh,
at all.
They misspelled my name, so that's why I didn't know. But I have a Googler with my name on it.
Pay for it.
But like I didn't, so my name was misspelled, so I didn't know, and so I reached, and so like this is a connection thing. Like I reached out to one of my amazing producers used to work at Essence, and I was like, "Hey, could you let them know that they misspelled my name?"
That's right. Let's get that corrected.
And it was done in like 2 seconds. So I was like, "See,
nice.
you know." But yeah, I mean, that was such a lovely and pleasant surprise, and like, but it also goes to doing the work of telling these different stories. Like, it is a cornucopia of people who've been on that show. Like, I don't just because I do 29 Days in Magazine doesn't mean I don't interview white folks, for example, or white men, for example. I interview tons of those folks. And, people come to me in all manner of ways as a result of coming on the podcast. And I invite you all here, gents, to come on the show as well. So we can do a little podcast exchange, and I can be the other side of this, asking y'all the questions.
Yes, we love it. We love to get from behind the mic per se, and do this. And we don't do it as often either. And we need to do more and really give our listeners and viewers a sense of what it is that we got going on, things that we want to embark on, things that we're heavily involved in and ready to do for 2022 and forward. I mean, right. we kind of had a conversation in 2018 in my backyard. It didn't just stem from in my backyard, but my son's 8th birthday. We were standing out back. Lou was here. I think, all of us were here at one point, but the whole idea of a podcast, conversation cipher happened just in the backyard or in the kitchen or around the kitchen island. And then it became more of it grew from there. So established in 2018 and we growing strong. So we can talk about that more. Let folks know. Exactly.
Let the people know. But yeah, so I mean, and also but again, I sort of just validated that my hypothesis was right. That if you made a podcast that was about people in business telling their real stories without the hype and the foolishness of like, well, my daddy gave me a $5 free head start. And one of the reasons I think it works is that the first question I always ask is always the same 5 years into this. And it's, what was your first job? And the reason I ask that question is because I want people to remember how far they've come. And because once you do that, it automatically disarms people and they start thinking about like, well, damn. And it's fascinating because I'm always amazed how whatever first job people pick, so it could be paper boy, it could be their first job out of college,
telemarketer, whatever.
Whatever they end up selecting as the thing they talk about always correlates to what they do now, which is fascinating. Because it's like, there's something about like, oh, I worked at Gap and now I'm global head of sales at blah, blah, blah. Or like they were a babysitter and like, they are a career coach. Like it's so fascinating.
Wow.
Like what pops into their head as the first job and how it correlates to what they do now. And it could be like, I learned I was a fry cook and I want nothing to do with anything regarding like food ever again. But I learned how to deal with crazy people. And and now as I'm a VP of blah, blah, blah,
right.
I know how to navigate people and like, I'm known for that kind of thing. It's so fascinating because I think And I think oftentimes people assume that like you just snapped your fingers and you got to where you are.
Right.
And especially for folks like us. And so when it's really important, or like you like someone just like magically opened the door and you just like glided your way through. Yeah, that's not how this works. And I think, or that it's like you're a 20-year overnight success. It's like also this takes work. Like you are not going to magically make six figures the second you walk out of college. Like you are going to have a road that is very, very windy, like my wallpaper. And like you'll have stops and you'll have starts. And you will kind of figure it out in your own way. And that's something to be proud of, as opposed to like, oh, I don't know, I had all these different jobs where I jumped from jump to jump. Like, yeah, no, so what? You got to where you are. And so letting people see that and see that honesty, especially when we're in the middle of the pandemic. And a big thing that has been the question I've asked every single guest is like, what is your self-care routine? And especially for the men who come on the show, especially for the Black men who come on the show, it's really important for them to share that, because, you know, y'all do not take care of yourselves. Y'all don't sleep, y'all don't rest, y'all don't go to the doctor.
Right.
And so it's really important for folks to hear that and internalize that and realize the importance of it, because our health, our mental health is so important right now, especially as we are 2 years into our panorama. And so letting people hear that over and over again, I think is really key for folks. Because I think, again, what the misconception is that, like, you know, we can all be go, and like that is just so not the case. I mean, I used to be one of them. Like when we first started the business, our kind of tagline was relentless hustle. Like we go to four events a week, and not sleeping and blah 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 blah. And when I think about that now, I'm like, oh my god, why did I do that to myself?
Right.
Now I'm all about relentless rest. So I'm like, chill your hell out. Like, go to the spa. Like I created a whole spa weekend experience that people now go to. Like, do that. Like, go sit by the jacuzzi and like put your feet in. Like, do not. Like, it is necessary. And again, this is especially for us. Like, you know, take the affordable luxury, take the luxury, and go and do that. Because if y'all don't do it for yourself, who's gonna make it do it for you? So you've got to remember to let the importance of taking care of yourself, giving yourself some self-care, whatever that looks like, whether that's bike riding, whether that's sleeping, whether that's, you know, going to buy them the newest pair of Jordans. I don't care. But like when you do something for yourself, and it is yours, is so important to being able to put yourself in the best possible position for success in the future.
Yeah. As you said that, it reminded me, you know, when you had made a post, I think, in LinkedIn about, you know, just kind of, you know, hitting the reset button, recharging. I don't know if that might have been in 2021. I was trying to find it, but what did you do to kind of reset? What did you do to recharge, or what is self-care?
Yeah, I mean, I realized the importance of it because, like I said, I was home for the first time in 9 years, and I was like, oh, this apartment's really small. I was like, I hadn't been there. I've been like, I deliberately live downtown, close to the fucking bridge, so I could get in the airport, go to LaGuardia, and fly out wherever I need to go. Like that was my life. And so being home and cooking and doing a lot of stuff for a year was like. I think I cooked as much as I ever want to ever again. But like, I think
like HelloFresh, or just from scratch, or like, did you pull out some recipes?
I did every box service you could think of. HelloFresh, Blue Apron, Sunbasket, all the things.
Which one's your favorite? Not to give them a plug, but like, did you stick with any of them? Okay. I mean, that's ours. That's ours in our house too.
Yeah. But now I like on that, like, y'all didn't cook? Oh Jesus.
Yeah.
I don't know how my mother did it for 20 odd years. I'm like, what? No.
All that cooking.
No. Oh my God. It's the day. Jesus. Like Uber Eats and I have become very good friends. Let's put that way. Back half of 2021, I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm so done. But from a self-care perspective, like, no, I have a business coach who's phenomenal, and I'm a big advocate of getting a coach and getting a therapist, which was kind of two really important things for self-care. Like, when the pandemic hit, and I was cutting all my expenses, and I told my coach, I can't afford this. And he's like, nope, I'm not charging y'all. Like, just keep coming, because like I know that everyone needs help right now. And so that's a blessing.
Bless him.
And so really amazing blessing. And I think having someone like him to talk to once a week to like talk through the things that were like freaking me out and terrifying me, because it was an awful period. It was like, you work so hard for something, and then in an instant it is all gone. Your entire industry just like blew up in front of your face. And so that was extremely terrifying. And so having him to talk to weekly was a big aspect of my self-care, and I don't think I would have been here had it not been for having those conversations. Because I just was like, I don't know what to do. Like, I might have like gone to like go work at like Macy's or something. I don't know, but like having him to like talk to about who I am. Like, there's actually I have this candle, and I'll do a short plug. And it was like, and like this company called 125 a collection. They're a candle black owned capital, and like I have this really cool candle, and so it says, so it says, I mean, my feelings from her, and then I'm like, really, who the fuck I am? Sorry, but like, I needed to see that. I needed to see that, because like I just like forgot who I was, because I was like, this is just falling off a cliff, and so kind of having those like little affirmations and little things really came in really handy. And my coach recommended like go on vacation. And I'm like, I have a business. How about I go on vacation? He's like, there's a spa, like. A friend of mine has been working with, go to that for the weekend. And so by some miracle, I figured it out. We went to the spa, this place called Miraval, Berkshire, which is the most amazing place ever. And spent the weekend there. And I was like, oh, like, this is what it means to like breathe and rest. And like, I'm not like a nature person. I'm a beach person. Like, I'm not walking through the woods. I'm a black person. What's wrong with you? But there I was like, hiking in the Berkshires and like doing country road biking. I mean, I was like, who am I? What have I done with Laura? But yet it was the most clarity I'd had in a year. And I got to like just breathe and like got some dope massages, like, had some good wine, and, just got to like recenter, and that was just really helpful for me. And so like as a result of that, like I started doing these weekends at the spa like once a quarter now, and inviting more friends to come through to kind of do the same thing that I did, like just reset and chill.
Right. He said invite him. That's what I think that meant.
Exactly.
Let me know.
Next one I think is in late April. I'm working on the dates now, but I will let y'all know.
Yep,
it's
you
a
not
reset
far.
weekend.
I gotta make that happen.
So because you create all these events for clients, right? Like, I can't only imagine, like, what does a team building event looks like within Dflash? Like, what do you guys do, like, as a group? Let's say pre-pandemic, or even now virtually. Like, what do you guys do to, to kind of create synergies or to just reconnect? Just internally.
Well, virtually we like send everybody like gift cards for dinner, and then we just like sit and eat and shoot the stories and talk about like what the hell is going on, and you laugh about that stuff. I also think laughter is kind of the best medicine about all this stuff, and so like our holiday party this year was a virtual holiday party, and like same deal, like or everybody like wines and food, and like just like recap the insane year and talk about like what was the one thing that you're like, oh my god, what have I done? And like it was just hilarious. It was, and I think that's the thing. Honestly, laughter is kind of key for all this stuff.
Absolutely.
And like lots of folks comment about the fact that I smile a bunch. Like I do.
That's right.
And because it's not fake. I'm just like, again, like
because I'm happy.
Well, because I'm super lucky to be here. So I'll give you a quick story. So the first night I came to America, I nearly died, and so basically, my grandmother had a coffee table, all glass. I was a hyperactive 3-year-old. I took a header into the coffee table. Because little kids bounce off of stuff, and like apparently don't feel things. Apparently, I smacked my head directly into the table and like covered in blood. Didn't feel it. Like fell asleep in my dad's arms. He didn't know what happened. So my mom came down and like saw him covered in blood. And was like, oh my god! And like we'd been in America like 12 hours. So like welcome to the American healthcare system, which was terrifying. And go to the hospital and like they're like, we don't know how it missed all of your eyes to like, not blind you because it was shattered all in front of my face. And it could have like easily cut my neck or whatever, but didn't. And oftentimes—
Miracle child.
Well, not so much a miracle, but like there's a reason to be here. And I think,
reason to be here.
When I've had those moments of like, oh, what have I gotten myself into? I remember that like, honestly, but for an inch here and an inch there, I might not be here. So you have to be grateful for where you are at the moment. And if you made it this far, just kind of keep putting one foot in front of the other because you'll figure it out. And I've tried as a leader to kind of give people the same sense of like, listen, you could be working anywhere, but if you're working with me at this particular moment in your life, like I happen to be your boss at this particular moment. It's because we're sort of meant to have this connection at this moment. So like, I don't want to take that for granted for you, and I hope you don't take it for granted with me. To try to do the best we possibly can, and that's all you can. That's all you can really do.
Well, take a sip of your drink for that, because you've been talking and you have not had a chance to like. Oh, yes, you have had a chance to. Oh, I saw that volume, the level of that cup. Oh, yes, you have.
I've been drinking.
I have been graceful with my sips, though. So
Yes. Well, I'm glad that we were able to, hear and you were able to share your journey. I think that this is just one step, closer to reconnecting to you, virtually. Like I said, it's been some time, but I feel like it was just yesterday. We were standing in the same space. You were just as warm and welcoming. You were a great guest. And you've definitely been a driving force for me personally to continue in the podcasting and doing something that I think that I could transfer some of my knowledge, my skill, and my charisma into this, into this industry. So thank you.
All right.
I get flowers. Flowers.
Absolutely.
We always get flowers.
I appreciate it so much, Jen.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, you guys. I mean, you guys are doing a great job. I mean, I pop in and listen, and you all have great guests that come through, and it's great seeing Black men doing their thing.
Yes.
Appreciate that, for sure.
Yeah, and we will have to put you on our invitation list of things that we have going on and coming on in Delaware and surrounding states.
What's next in 2022 for y'all?
Rob, you want to break the news? What do you know? You want to speak on it?
No, we're still working on things, still ironing it out.
So I would say we're an area where we would like to really get into outside of what we've been doing is we formed in 2021, we formed Brews and Banner Productions, LLC. So it is more in the events space. We are trying to build the framework of what that looks like exactly, whether it be curating small events that really pair well with beer experiences, but also we started a nonprofit chapter called, I'm about to screw the name up, Black and Brew Delaware. The president of Black and Brew Chicago, Mickey Bryant, she was a guest and came on and asked us to, build a chapter or make a chapter here that is about diversity and inclusion in beer. So we are now championing and directing that under our umbrella. So we want to create spaces that really in spaces that do not look like us, that isn't predominantly us, and make sure that we are welcome in these spaces. So 2021 we co-hosted our first beer fest festival here in Delaware. We were given that opportunity. So it really got our feet wet in what we want to do. And we want to embark on some of those kind of more events now that we've gotten one, under our belt. So
nice.
that gives you a little bit, little tease, little taste,
Yeah, I mean,
Rob was being a little
personally-
shy. Rob was being a little shy, wasn't he?
It's not a little shy. It's just more like it's still in the infancy stage.
Yeah, you can give you little tidbits, right?
Yeah, sure.
Just drop a little nugget here.
Little nugget.
Well, that's
Nugget.
fantastic. I mean, listen. The event person to me is like, go for it.
Mhm.
Just do it in a way that has a dope vibe, and
Yes.
and don't try and make it an event you want to go to.
Mhm.
Like, don't let
Right.
anybody tell you what you're supposed to do with this. Like,
Mhm.
make
Right.
it the event. If you weren't producing it, and you were a guest, what would you want to see, and what would you not want to see? So
Beautiful.
when you're building it, that's the thing to keep in mind. And then remember, and think of the events that you went to, which were like amazing, and the ones that sucked.
Mhm.
And why did the ones that suck?
Mhm.
And remembering that, like, oh my god, the food, or like the parking was trash, or
Mm.
like, when you first got to check in, it was really hard to get through the check-in process because they like wanted to scan a card, or like a vaccine thing, or like whatever you can do to alleviate some of that
Ease
stuff.
that. Yeah.
That's going to be key, especially now with COVID stuff, and depending on where you are and what the rules are going to be. How can you make that process as smooth as possible is going to be key to being successful for it.
Yeah.
And then but also, like, do not reinvent the wheel. Like,
True.
good beer, good people, good times.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
All right.
Yeah.
like,
So important. So important.
kind of all you need.
Kind of all you need. And capital. Don't forget that capital.
Well,
Duh.
that's a given.
That's a given.
Yeah.
Say
That's
the
awesome.
July. So yeah,
Yes.
be careful.
Yeah, but we can share more in the near future about that, and how we can strategically align our schedules to share that information on the
Totally,
recent
yeah.
podcast.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I said, we'll share, and
Mhm.
want to do more of that. And so, like, when you guys come on, I want to hear all of the stuff.
Yes.
All of the stuff.
Yes.
All
That's
right.
it.
Any more questions for Laura?
No, man. It's been a
All right.
pleasure. It's been a pleasure.
All right.
Thank you very much.
I want to thank Laura, for coming to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, gentlemen.
Yes.
Absolutely. We want to thank you for coming on. Before we go, we always like to know how people can find everyone on these social media, World Wide Web things, and all these good things that they're into. So, Laura, how can people find you?
Sure. So on social, you can find me personally at LMIGNO, so El Mignott on all social media. The Reset Podcast, it's at The Reset Podcast. Need that "the" in there because there are other Reset podcasts which are not as good as this one. But,
Right. Plug.
but you need the "the"
Absolutely.
there. And I'm like, DMs are always open. Like I said, I'm always going to have conversation with folks. I try and make myself as accessible as I possibly can. And yeah. I'm an easy one to find.
Yes,
thank
you
all
are.
so much. Delighted to have a conversation, and you guys have been great.
Yeah,
it was awesome. Awesome.
Yeah,
for sure.
appreciate you.
Yeah.
Dev?
Well, as Lou would say, for all your beer needs, you can find Dev Drinks Craft Brew on Instagram. And if you need to email me, devdrinkscraftbrew@bruisandbanter.com.
There it is. Lou?
My name is Lou Belgium. I'm on them Instagrams.
On them Instagram. And you can find Bruising Banter Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Bruising Banter Podcast. You can also listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can say, hey, Alexa, play Bruising Banter, because we are on Amazon Music as well. Shout out to Dev. He beat me to
There
it.
it is.
Him at I am 302.
There it is. He's on it.
He's on
Right.
it.
He couldn't be here today, but he is listening.
Yeah, there you go. And you can find me, Rob G. There it is, Rob Stay Bruising. Beep, 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 right there. You can also go to www.bruisingbanter.com if you want to get merch or find out all the platforms I just mentioned that we are on. You can listen directly from the website as well. This has been episode 150. Until next time.
Have a good week, everyone.
Let's hear this outro music.